What's going on, fellow park enthusiasts? This is the Park Geeks, and we are here looking back on this year's Halloween Horror Nights. They are all dressed for the occasion. I'm the only one who does not have the Dueling
Yeah.
Dragon shirt.
Hey man, had to grab it on sale, so I got to pounce on these things, man. Plus, it's a cool
hey,
shirt.
hey, I will be
It is.
going up this. I will be going up this weekend, so that'll be my shot. As long as they're still there and they have my size. So, fingers crossed.
They got
So,
plenty.
Last time I saw it, did.
excellent. So, and I did, snag myself a Dueling Dragons pin. It's up there in my corkboard, so I got something. But anyway, yeah, we are reaching the end of this year's Halloween Horror Nights. The season is just about over, and we actually we didn't meet up all together this time in Orlando. Kurt actually went to the one in Hollywood, while the rest of us went to one in Orlando. So we thought it'd be interesting to actually do a bit of a comparison between the two, a little East versus West, and just overall, which one we think might be slightly better, or which ones that we think might have an edge over. So we'll go ahead and get this start here. Now, seeing how these guys are wearing the shirts for Dueling Dragons, I think we should at least start with that because there was a lot of interest for this house because the Dueling Dragons was definitely a very big fan favorite attraction.
Oh yeah.
And Raul used to actually work on that attraction. So we went in with high expectations and we were sadly a little disappointed.
Yeah. Yep.
Shots
Family
fired
friendly.
already. We're barely a couple minutes in. Here we go.
Family friendly.
Well, 3 out of 4 of us were disappointed because I mean, when I went through there, now don't get me wrong, it was definitely cool. I will not say it wasn't, but the thing is that for me personally, I was expecting there to be some anthro dragon costumes, people wearing dragon costumes that were jumping out and scaring us. Instead, it was these wizards, which again, the costumes
Warlocks.
the warlocks. The costumes were cool. The light up chest plates were neat, and you did get to choose your fate at the end. And let me just say, I went through this thing like 4 times and got the same ending for all of them.
I got the good
It's
ending too. I
it's
went
like
5
the one-
times.
It's like the one time you want to be the loser, you don't get it. But Curry, as someone who's a big fan of that attraction, like, what were you hoping to see out of it?
I was hoping to see a lot more. It didn't really excite me at all. I didn't really. I was hoping for some references to the ride, to the coaster itself in some kind of subtle way, but there weren't any. You only see the dragons dueling once that I can recall in the one scene at the castle there, and that's kind of it. And
Did you watch videos?
That doesn't really say dueling dragons to me if we hardly ever see any dragons in it that are dueling. It just, I don't know, it just seemed more. I mean, the fact that you could split in the line at one point and choose your fate, that was kind of a fun idea. I kind of like that. But the rest of it just kind of left me cold.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about you? And Raul, when Daniel finishes, I want you to kind of fill us in to see if maybe there's something that we missed. So, Daniel, go ahead.
I don't want to spoil my rankings for Dueling Dragons here, but I'm actually might be one of the few to defend it. I know I was with all of you that there should have been more dragon representation within the actual house itself, but I can't discount the effects and, I think pretty good placements of the scares and just the aspect of choosing your fate at the end. I think thematically, it's always a cool house to walk through. So there's only been, out of the 5 times I went through it, only one bad run. And the rest have been pretty solid. And I've had experience with different groups of people. And I think it's going to be an underrated house. I like the house enough to go grab the shirt, just kind of on a whim. It just wasn't because it was just on sale. But I've always been a fan of the ride. And I think for what they did, obviously missed opportunity to take full advantage of the IP. But I was fine at the house as is. It just left me wanting more. And to me, for a house, that's always a good sign.
So, Raul, is there something that we're not seeing here?
Can you specify in a sense of what do you mean? What are you not seeing?
Like, are we wrong to assume that there probably should have been like maybe people in Anthro dragon costumes, or at least see a few more dragons throughout the house?
Well, here's the backstory, and I'm gonna read it. Basically, the backstory is the house takes place right after the original Rise storyline, after Merlin has been turned into the Enchanted Oak. Two warlocks from the Ride, Bliss Rock, the Ice Warlock, and Pyrock, the Fire Warlock, travel to Merlin's castle, and in order to fight for control over his now unguarded spellbook, which is witnessed in the house, they would travel through the fairy forest, eventually reach Merlin's castle. When both of them reach the spellbook, it is revealed that Merlin put a spell on the book. The spell turns them into dragons, and they continue the battle anyway while guests are going through the crumbling castle.
Okay, so what were
So
your
that's
thoughts on
why.
what were your thoughts on the house, seeing as someone who used to work on that attraction?
For me, that's why I know them. I apologize for flicking the finger, but I loved it because as someone who's worked on the ride and even gone there when I was younger as a pass holder, I saw the queue, especially that bridge as you're going into the castle, which was the bridge right before you entered the tent. If you were there during the Potter years, the Triwizard tent, that bridge that takes you into the main castle part. And then once you get inside, you see the knights frozen on the ceiling, just like in the original queue for the ride, the skeletons and everything. And the very end with the dragon statue is the closest thing of having those original statues from the front of the ride there. So it's something I really, really love. And again, many of my coworkers from that previous attraction, we all, at least most of the people I've talked to, really love the ride. It may not be, for example, the scariest, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely one of my personal favorites. Not because of the scares, they just did overall very well done job with the story, the sets, and the costuming.
I think the other thing too, or at least what could be a potential issue, is the fact that I don't think anybody equates wizards and dragons with horror. I think the closest you can come to is maybe Jurassic Park, or maybe some of the kaiju Godzilla movies. Uh, I mean, it's not like that you can't feel intensity from these creatures. I mean, their whole purpose is to wreak havoc. But I don't know. I guess like I said, if I would have at least seen like people in Anthro dragon costumes, that would at least feel a bit more, well, dragonish
Or just dragon
potentially.
heads, because they're really huge creatures.
Or
Just kind
yeah,
of
I mean
picking.
they could have. Well, they could have used like puppets or something. Use large.
Oh yeah,
Doesn't have to be Anthro Dragon people in costume. Just use
Yeah,
puppets. Remember, if you
heads,
remember back to
claws.
like remember like the Chupacabra or the American Werewolf
hmm
house they had. They just had they had a full size werewolf puppet that they operated. That's pretty cool.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would have liked if they had a bunch of that stuff in this house. I thought that would have been a lot better.
hmm Well, hopefully they'll have a chance to redeem themselves, or at least maybe just dragons in general, as to be used in a horror setting.
Well, they
Because
certainly could be. I think it's true that I haven't seen a lot of horror movies based around dragons, but I don't see why you couldn't write one.
mhm,
Right? Just for the filmmaker, the problem is usually dragons are depicted as these giant beasts.
Yep.
It's kind of hard for a giant beast to sneak up on you and scare you, right? That's kind of that. So they have to do something, in the horror realm with, maybe the ghost of a dragon is haunting you or something like that. I mean, that things seems
mhm.
to be things like that could be something smaller that could you do the jump scares with something. I don't know. But anyway, that's I don't think dragons and horror are mutually exclusive. That's what I'm trying to say.
hmm Well, we talked about a house from Orlando. Kerr, why don't you actually tell us about one of the original IP houses from Hollywood?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll talk about my favorite. Um, it was the what do they call it? The Holidays in Hell. So I kind
Mhm.
of I kind of like that one. It's quirky, and I kind of like the quirkiness of it.
Yeah, it was.
It appealed to me that it's just like there's taking well-known holiday figures like the Easter Bunny and making them horrific, and I thought it just kind of appealed to me. I thought it was funny, a little bit of edge, a little bit of humor, on the horror. I just kind of like that combination. And I just kind of like that you just go through the whole calendar year. You start in January and you hit
Yep.
all the major holidays all the way through
Mhm.
December. And I just kind of got a kick about it. Oh, actually, and while I think about it, I wanted to bring up here. This is a good part to bring that in Hollywood. They most of the houses will have some scare actors out front before you go into the house.
That
And
is
they don't
actually.
really,
Go
Go
ahead.
yeah,
ahead.
they don't really do that in Orlando. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen that in Orlando.
No,
Yeah, and
that's what.
I
That's
think it's
one
because
thing.
I think
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I think it's because of the weather, right? Because in Los Angeles in October, you can pretty much guarantee it isn't going to rain. It basically doesn't rain in Los Angeles, so you can have it. You can have something set up, and you know you can have the characters out there every night that the event is running. You don't have to worry about bad weather that they have to go run inside when a storm comes along. I think that's probably why they do it in Hollywood. It's just the weather lets them do it. But I like that. It adds something else. It gives you this little like a preamble
Yeah.
to what you're going to see inside the house, and I just kind of sets it up, and I kind of like that.
Plus the
Yeah,
facades.
But yeah,
We're
yeah,
missing
that,
out on
that
Orlando.
yes, they definitely have scare actors like right before you go in. That's definitely something they have over Orlando. The facades are right there because for those who haven't been to Orlando, like some of the bigger houses, they take place in sound stages that are in the back,
Yeah.
and you're just seeing like a painting for like The Last of Us or Universal Monsters Unmasked. It's a cool painting, don't get me wrong, but first impressions are key, and if that's your first impression compare that to an actual facade, it's a place where Hollywood definitely has the advantage. Plus, the other thing that I like that Hollywood does is the not the scare actors, but like the people who are like doing security throughout the maze, kind of guiding people through. They're
Yeah.
actually wearing robes.
Hoods.
They're not wearing like just like a black suit. They're actually wearing robes that actually go with the motif of Horror Nights. That is a subtle touch that I definitely like. But going back to the house, yeah, I was watching that going, oh, this looks fun.
yeah. I just thought it was fun. It wasn't. I didn't find it terribly scary, but I found it fun. It was just intriguing. Okay, what are they going to do now? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
what did you guys think of it?
Raul, what did you think of that house?
Which house again? Sorry.
Holidays in Hell over at Hollywood.
Holidays in Hell. Yes.
I would say like from the videos I saw, that's a cool concept, especially with the new movie coming out called Thanksgiving, based on one of the fake trailers within the Grindhouse, filmed by Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez.
Holidays
That's
in
coming out
Hell.
this November.
Mm.
So the idea is of course, I enjoy taking something traditionally, not a horror like thing, and converting it into a horror film. There was one film, I can't remember the name of it, which was like a horror film, Valentine's Day. It has a poster of a girl that has like a ponytail that is like a shape as a noose. And basically the idea of different horror movies. There's also Black Christmas, the original, the 2004 remake, and of course Silent Nights, Deadly Night.
Mm-hmm. What about you,
And
Daniel?
different movies I just really enjoy.
Yeah, I thought the house was definitely a neat concept. Excuse me. I'm not really a big fan of the dubstep music. Like towards the second half of the house, I think that took away from a lot of it. It just got really annoying and blaring. Kind of hit some of the scares. So I think execution wasn't that good, but the idea of it's pretty solid. The costumes were definitely pretty good, like the creepy leprechauns and some of the execution scenes and some of the holidays are pretty cool. Like the one with the one on Valentine's Day was nice. The one I think was there one in the July 4th scene? I forget.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there's Uncle Sam comes for you.
Yeah, and yeah,
I mean,
like
the IRS does every year, so
Right.
it's a hard house to get right because some of the later holidays were kind of rushed. Like Thanksgiving was just one room. Same with Christmas. Just kind of rushed through, and I'm surprised they threw Halloween in there since I mean this is already a very Halloween themed event. And that was actually probably the least scary part of the whole thing, which is the ironic part of it.
Maybe,
It's
yeah.
just guys and big pumpkin heads or whatever.
Yeah, but you got to include it. It's a major holiday now. You got to include it.
Sure, it's just if you're gonna do it, I guess do it a bit better than that. But I guess they're going for the whole campy traditional feel and make it a bit scarier. So yeah, like I enjoyed other houses which we'll get to from Hollywood, but if I were to just based on what I've seen, if I were to rank them, that'd probably be on that lower end of houses. That one.
Oh well.
Well, let's talk about a house that, or at least an IP that the two locations shared: Universal Monsters Unmasked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's pretty much a tradition every year that they do something with the classic monsters, and I will say I do prefer the one that we got here in Orlando because that was gruesome. We like the fact of seeing the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera like literally cut someone's face off. Like, okay, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people posted this in their videos, but there's actually a dead horse on the floor. Like, obviously not a real one, but still, the fact that there's this giant prop laying there, like, watch your step, and you had the hunchback and like just bungee down then spring right back up.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah, I always love that effect because no one ever sees it coming from above, ever. That's a great hiding spot. So the one in Hollywood didn't really do as much for me. Although I do think they had a bit better effects with the Invisible Man, because when we had him down here in Florida, it was just the same thing, bandaged face. However, in Hollywood, they blacked out the mouth.
Yeah.
So and he was against a black background. So that at least sold the illusion better. So I gotta give Hollywood that. Kurt, let's say you.
Yeah, I like that house. I thought it was a good idea for a house. Maybe they might have put maybe a few too many monsters all at once in one. I kind of would like to see more of each monster. If the house could be longer, I think I would have enjoyed it more because it's kind of like separate little vignettes, for each monster. I think I would have liked more, of each one. That's really my only criticism. I didn't quite get enough of it, but I liked it.
What about you, Raul?
I got to experience a special way that house where it was just for employees, and so all the actors in the house went even stronger towards us because they knew we were, work there. So it was a great experience, especially for me. I would agree with Kurt. I would have loved to see a little bit more of the Hunchback on Notre Dame, but just seeing him, I don't know if you've seen videos or you went to the house where he's hanging from the bell tower. Oh, that was beautiful. The Phantom. I made a joke with someone that felt that the house was like 70% Phantom.
Yeah.
Because there were moments that you can, man, it's like Phantom, and then yes, finally the Invisible Man. That's what I'm looking for. Even though I can't see you. And then, like I said, I also liked seeing Hyde and Jekyll for the first time in a house like that. I mean, if he was in a previous house in other years, I don't know, but it was cool seeing him. And then again, Hunchback. And fun fact, there is an Easter egg. There is a poster that is in French, but it says, "Tours to the Black Lagoon coming next year."
Oh, nice.
I love it.
Could be a hint.
Oh,
Could
man.
be just a fun thing, but you never know.
Daniel, let's say you.
Yeah, I think from the two houses, they're both pretty solid, but I think I would have to vote for Orlando by a comfortable margin. I think the Hollywood one's a little bit too brightly lit in some areas, so it's like kind of easy to see like where the monsters and scares could be coming from. So yeah, like I like when houses do a good mixture of like open-ended scenes and more narrow constricted hallways. So I think Orlando did that better, as well as darker lighting and I think better effects overall. But I think the Hollywood version did have a better balance. Like there was less Phantom overall in Hollywood, and you had more chances, especially with the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde scene. You see the initial transformation. I think that was a pretty cool thing that I wish we had here in Orlando to kind of transition. You see him transition back, but you don't really get to see him go into the monster too much. And I thought the way Hollywood ended was pretty weak. It was just kind of they're just kind of popping out in like these dark black hallway. So I don't know if they just kind of rushed it, but I felt like it just kind of suffered the same syndrome as the Holidays in Hell, where it just felt like towards the end it was kind of like an afterthought. Um,
Mm.
but honestly, if they're gonna keep doing these houses, I would recommend 3 max because if you want to see more of the monsters, I think you can't dilute the content that much. So honestly, I would just probably cut Hunchback and just focus more on Invisible Man if you're gonna go with that theme. I don't see how the
Mm.
Hunchback really ties into the mask or separate role theme. I think it's he
It's
was,
more because it's in Paris, and what are the monsters in Paris in
but
Hunchback?
I understand. It's just the theme of unmasked. It makes no sense to me. So if we were to cut out Hunchback and have more of the other monsters, I think that would play to both houses' benefit. But as it is, I would have enjoyed walking through the Hollywood version for sure. But yeah, Orlando definitely nailed it compared to Hollywood. That has my vote.
Kurt, what's actually one of the houses you really liked, or at least one that's based off an established IP?
Well, we can kind of, I guess, of the ones we had in Hollywood. I think I would probably lean towards Evil Dead.
Hmm.
Well, that's a franchise you're at least familiar with.
Yeah, yeah, I think of that one. The other ones, I don't know if we want to talk about that later, but a lot of the other ones didn't really do a whole lot for me. But this one I kind of liked a bit more. It seemed a little more it's hard to describe what I wanted to see in a house. I guess it had a good amount of jump scares versus the gore factor. I thought it balanced that out nicely.
Mm.
I thought it created a nice environment. You're going through the house and stuff. Um, yeah, I think of the IP related ones in Hollywood, I think I like that one probably the best. I think.
Uh, yeah, that's one that we did not get down here.
Right.
I will say one effect that I liked in that house
Which
was
is
actually
disappointing.
it the was the one where you saw the feet hanging in the elevator shaft.
For Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
yeah, that was a good effect. I actually haven't seen that before, or at least something like that here in Orlando. And just Evil Dead. I mean, obviously that's a well-known franchise, very well established, got some great movies, and had a great TV show too. Uh, that is definitely one I would have liked to have experienced. You definitely have that one over us. I'll give you that. Uh, but Daniel, uh,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I thought Evil Dead looked like a pretty solid house. Even though a lot of the costumes felt kind of samey after a while because it's just possessed humans, but I think the set design was really neat. Just walking through room by room.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I think that some of the scare locations were quite obvious, like just little doors you can see from a mile away when they're going to come out. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I quite like the progression of it. Definitely some gruesome moments in there. Some pretty decent effects. Uh, so yeah, it's a pretty average house. It definitely would be
Average.
average. I mean, because I've seen better houses at Hollywood. It's just it's a house. It's the house of houses. If you walk through it, you get scared. Um, I haven't really seen Evil Dead that much. I've only seen the first 2 movies. But
Mhm.
at least that house gave me an impression of like, yeah, I should probably check out the show. It might be pretty fun. Um, I, I guess Bruce Campbell's not in this, but I guess that's the point. He's not going to be in every single Evil Dead iteration. But
He did a voice cameo.
uh,
He is. It's like hear it and you'll like catch it or you miss it.
yeah.
Mm.
But I'm actually surprised how much the actors can get into the room, like when they scare people, because some of the rooms are really big and they like cover like half the room distance. I'm like, okay, well, they can probably get right in your face just to really spook you out and get there. So yeah, just
Mm.
wish I had more to say about it, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like there's nothing like truly stand out. Something that really stood out from that house a lot outside of just good theming and just good pacing of the scares.
Mm.
Yeah.
Raul, what say you?
Like I said, I would have loved to have the Evil Dead house over here. But from what it looks at, it was really cool. I got to meet the actress who plays the mom from the film, and she's a really nice person. So, and I got to see the movie in Dolby Cinema, so that was a great experience
Very
watching
nice.
a horror movie
And
like that
and you
in
were
a big
actually
screen.
telling us that the Hell Block house we had last year was supposed to be Evil Dead.
From what I was told by a few like HHN people I was told that that house originally was supposed to be Evil Dead.
Hmm. Let's actually
Interesting.
finish. Yeah, let's actually finish up the IP houses here because they were all the same, or at least the title. The houses were different, and that was Last of Us, Chucky, and Exorcist.
Yeah.
The Exorcist was basically, and I just found this out, was basically you going through the trailer. And to be fair, the trailer was in fact good. I can't say anything about the movie, but oh, and Stranger Things as well. Stranger Things 4, the
Yeah.
fourth season. I completely forgot about that one. Uh, but I will say I do think Hollywood had the better house. Just kind of when you first walk through, you're going through that marketplace, and I thought that was better. And you still got like the well, frankly, the person dangling from the ceiling from their vomits,
Yeah. Pretty
like
gruesome.
yeah, that was in both houses. But ultimately, I think and not to mention also going past those two rooms with those two rooms that where you see the walls and then suddenly they disappear and you see the two girls that are possessed. I thought that was a great effect.
Yep.
So I think I got to give it to Hollywood for that one. So Kurt, what did you think?
That was a good effect. I mean, I wish they'd use things like that more. I just wish more happened. Once they did the reveal through the wall, because
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
see the girls in there and they give you they glower at you, and that's pretty much about it. I like it. They needed. I think when the walls go, quote transparent, and you see through, you needed something to cause a jump scare. In my opinion, it needed to be more
Okay,
than
good
just
point.
have the girls kind of glowering at you. But I was kind of so. This is one of the things. Maybe I've just been to too many of these events, but like all these IP houses didn't really do much for me. This set, this entire set. Now, also, I didn't see everything. Like I'm not really familiar with Last of Us, and I haven't watched Stranger Things, so maybe that's why it didn't really thrill me that much. Sorry, there's
Shame.
just limited amount of time. I just can't watch
I
everything
feel
and play
you.
every game.
I
Just
understand.
there's only so many hours in a day.
Yep.
Mhm.
Can't do it all. But yeah, I don't know. They didn't really I didn't see anything that really hooked me.
Mhm. But would you say who had the better house for The Exorcist, though, Orlando or Hollywood?
To me, I didn't really have a preference. Neither of them really did much for me.
Hmm.
So I give it a toss up actually.
All right, Daniel, what about you? Because uh, you, oh no, that was Raul who actually said he hasn't seen any of the movies. But so, what about you, Daniel?
Yeah, The Exorcist. I felt like this house definitely felt longer in Hollywood. Um, it did its usage of like reused rooms, I think, better than the Atlanta version. Like the whole red painted room, which is like little samples of hell that you walk through with the demons popping out of the wall. I think that
Hmm.
was good, especially like towards the end as things like escalated to a climax. I think that was definitely better handled. But I don't know. Like I'm with Kurt. It's very hard to pick a winner because they're so close in quality. I think Orlando may have the better moments like within each room. Like at least the performance I got when I went with you, I think it scared me a couple of times. Um, but on future, I only went through it once more, and I don't know. It didn't really sink in. It's yeah, great, good jump scares, but not much else to look at outside like that opening, like first third of the house where you're kind of walking through the forest and leading up to that first scene. So yeah, like it's really hard. Like I've just been flipping back and forth on whether Orlando or Hollywood's better, but maybe slight Orlando, slight,
Hmm.
because it didn't really overstay its welcome. Um, I don't know.
What
That's
about you, Raul?
I it's in an it's hard in a way, not hard, but I would say I enjoyed the house. Like it was it was fun. Like there's some good scares in there. Um, and although it was kind of funny because I saw the movie and the big demon that's in the house never really shows up in the movie except in quick flashes. I had to like look up a video and they were talking about it.
Hmm.
So it was kind of funny. that, and someone was saying, "Oh, the movie or the house would spoil the movie, or like you have to see the movie to see what happens." So I was going through the house, or remember going through the house. I'm like I don't remember being spoiled because most of the things I saw in the trailer. I don't know if you guys would agree
Oh, whoops, sorry there.
with that. But overall, I'd say it's a enjoyable house. Like I wouldn't go too crazy. Like if the lines are short enough, I'll do the house. It's like I said, it's a fun. I enjoyed the movie. The movie was a 6 out of 10 for me. I thought.
Which one do you think was better, Hollywood's or Orlando's?
Mm, give me 1 second here. I didn't get to see that one. Exorcist, Believer. Like what was different from the two houses? While I look up like quick
you're
snippets.
you're looking it up.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, we'll just move on.
It's just the big difference I noticed was what Justin already mentioned, just the effect with the see-through wall, and their use of repetitive rooms involve like the hell scene more, whereas in Orlando House is like the same bedroom that you kind of walk through, but there was enough moments in space where you get double scared at once. That's why I kind of gave it the slight nod because I think the scares. It's just hard to tell a scare factor when you're not walking through the house, but based on the footage, I think I probably would be more scared in our version compared to Hollywood's version.
Now, one house I do think Hollywood got better was the Chucky house.
Yep.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, seeing
Oh my goodness.
You guys had a lot more props, you had a lot more scares, you had a lot more animatronics. So you guys definitely won that one.
Yep.
Okay.
Not gonna argue that.
Not much of an opinion on that one, Kurt.
Yeah, again, the IP houses overall didn't do much for me. I mean, in the house, Chucky is implemented. It's either a puppet or a really simple animatronic. They're not even any complex animatronics. It just didn't really scare me. I mean, it's more comical, I guess, than anything else. Which I guess is kind of what Chucky is. I mean, he's kind of like an evil comic almost to some degree, the way he kills people, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. He's kind of doing it, for for comedic reasons more than anything else, right? But anyway, I didn't really feel scared in the house. It didn't really seem to create much of I didn't really feel environment. I always look for the environment kind of thing. What did I feel? I'm in a scary environment. I never really felt that there, and I don't know. It just didn't do much. Looking at these little tiny puppets and these little simple animatronics just doesn't really cut it for me. Like maybe like I said, maybe I've just been going to these events too long. I'm getting too jaded. It's quite possible.
It's quite possible, yeah. But the one interesting one that came down, at least for the rest of us, was the Last of Us house. Because when we first walked through it, Daniel and I, we were actually pretty disappointed. And we're big fans of the game, but when we first walked through, it just wasn't what we hoped it would be. But then Raul kind of reeled us back into reality and said, like, okay, you guys have played the game. That game is huge.
Yes.
So what, and they're not going to be able to fit all this in one house. So what were you expecting? And Raul definitely had a very valid point with that one because, yeah, he's right. It is a big ass game. I mean, it's kind of like the whole thing with adaptations. A book is going to be different from the movie. The movie is going to be different from the book. So same thing when it comes to a horror video game and the Spook House. But when we first went through it, there wasn't that many scenes with Joel and Ellie, the two heroes of the game. But we knew we were coming back again, and Daniel and I just thought, okay, maybe we just caught them at a bad time. Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, I'm going to save my full thoughts on that house because I think it might surprise you when we get to it. But
okay.
But I guess you want to talk about comparisons real quick?
Yeah, we'll at least do a quick comparison here because we did go through it again eventually. And it was definitely much better the second time. I think they realized that there wasn't that many scenes with Joel and Ellie, or perhaps maybe the actors weren't hitting their cue. So when we went through, it was definitely better. Now, as for which one was better, Uh, I will say Orlando had the better sets, in my opinion. However, Hollywood had more Joel and Ellie.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Daniel?
Yeah, right with you. I did a lot of research in looking at what Hollywood did, and it basically took the hotel and sewer segments of that game pretty much down to a T. Like where even you have Joel, you see him repairing the generator, which is source power that you need to progress in the game, and they have that scene in there. So that was pretty cool. Just like where we had the car crash that kicked off the Pittsburgh chapter in our version. So
Mm,
I do agree that I wish we had the amount of Joel and Ellie in our version compared to Hollywood's version. But there's actually a lot of, I think, hidden gems and good things, way better things about Orlando's version that I'll get to when we get to rankings. But yeah, I know it's shocking for me to say it because I was so down on it, but I actually do prefer the Orlando version of The Last of Us house over Hollywood, but not by much. They're both
mm,
great houses. It's just the more I think about it, and since I've been through it 4 times, it's like, yeah, I think my opinion on the house is solidified. So I'm gonna give the nod to
yeah,
Orlando here. Orlando here. Yep.
by the skin of its teeth.
Yep.
Yeah. But Raul, what did you think?
Um, I will agree that Hollywood. The one thing in Hollywood, I wish, no offense, most of the houses in Orlando kind of had is real quick before I would continue. I just want to ask, when was your all's first Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando? Because it's gonna be
September
a
8th, I
point.
think.
You mean this year,
I
or do you mean
mean, the in
when we first
general, like
started
the
going?
event,
The first
first
the first
HHN.
2018.
the first one I went to, I think, was like maybe 2010 or 2012. I know it was the year they had Silent Hill.
Okay, and Daniel.
2018. That was the year with
All right,
Krampus in it.
I can't remember the year. It was at Islands of Adventure.
okay, so that's 2002, three, yeah. Okay, the
Long time
reason I
ago.
asked is that there was a house. I mean, there was a house of Walking Dead, where right before you even enter the soundstage, they had the two giant pillars of the prison on the outside and everything. They had these facades that you enter from, like wooden frames or
Nice.
like actual facades and stuff like that. Like there was an Evil Dead, Ash vs Evil Dead, where you had the car right outside, fencing, and there was another year of Walking Dead where they had walkers on the outside, similar to how Universal Hollywood, the Universal Monstruos del Caribe, the Hispanic like folklore monsters. They had like a Grim Creeper on the outside before you entered the house. In
Mm,
The Last of Us, they had Joel and Ellie. So my point, real quick, with that is that I wish Universal Orlando had some more stuff on the outside right before you entered the house.
Yeah.
On least
mhm.
some of them, especially like Last of Us or even Universal Monsters Unmasking. But I did like Orlando slightly better. The sets design and stuff just
Mm.
and also I don't know how many of you noticed in these. I don't know, but Kurt from the videos that you guys when you went through there 2 times. Joel right before the end of the house is on the top on
Yeah.
the second floor,
Yeah, I
bleeding
saw
out.
him. Yeah, because the other thing
Uh,
too is with the Orlando house, it actually kind of felt like they were trying to guide you through the chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of just being
Agreed.
like a sidekick or civilian
Hmm.
in the Hollywood house. And granted, like I would have loved to walk through the Hollywood one. That looked like a lot of fun. And
Hmm.
especially what I really liked my last run through of The Last of Us. It's just the way you can look at the actor and kind of gesture at them, and they respond back. It's just so cool. Like
Hmm.
you're an NPC in that world, and I like that detail a lot. Um, so granted, yeah, like I have a lot more to say about that house, but we'll get to it when we get to our house rankings.
I
Hmm.
fucking hate the clickers.
But the last
Like
IP
I love
house
them.
was Stranger Things 4. And what I noticed is that between the two locations, they were telling two different sides of the one season. I will say the one house the one room that the Orlando location had that I loved was the desert. Because when you walked into that room, I was kind of confused, like, wait, where am I? Like, when does this end? Like, it really kind of seemed like it just went on
What do you
forever.
mean desert?
It looked like there was some sort of a desert scene in the
Yeah.
house.
It was very small.
Yeah, but it looked like it just went on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even the video looked like a good effect.
Yeah.
yeah. So I gotta give them props for that. However, the one thing that or the few things that the Orlando location had was number one, they had that scene where they had to climb through the roof to escape the upside down, and they have their friends dressed up dressed mannequins dressed up as their friends bolted to the ceiling.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Kind of looking out there, going, "You've got to be kidding me!" But the other thing they were playing Metallica in the house, so I gotta give it to Orlando. Raul, how about you?
Uh, shit. Sorry, I blacked out. What was the house we were talking?
Stranger
Things.
Thing.
There was something that I liked. Okay, it's mixed match because overall I love the Stranger Thing house. I thought they did a really good job. Especially the scene with Eddie and Dustin playing Metallica on top of the trailer. There was one scene that kind of like in the Hollywood one where you see Max and Luca in the stairs and on the lantern. When in the Orlando one, you just see Luke fighting the bully, and then Max is floating, and also I like that in the Hollywood one you have a Christie zombie coming at you, scaring you. But overall Orlando I feel was a little bit stronger as far as certain sets and stuff, especially you guys would know when you look up in the trailer and you see like you're like upside down, which I thought was a really cool effect, the way they had that. So I would say maybe even, because both of them are kind of strong in certain ways, depending how you look at it. Maybe a slight edge to Orlando. But again, this is just from me seeing it physically versus seeing Hollywood's videos.
Okay, well, now that we got the IP houses out of the way, we'll talk about the ones that Kurt really enjoyed, the original houses. So, Kurt, why don't you actually lead us off here? What was probably one of the better ones for you?
See, as far as the original houses, I got a kick out of, what was the Yeti one called again? Yeti Campground Kills. Again, it's kind of a little campy, a little silly. But I thought it was pretty good. There, at least in the video I watched, there was a decent number of Yeti encounters.
Oh yeah, there was.
The whole thing. Yeah, I think more so than those. Actually, that brings up one of my complaints. I don't know how much it was in Orlando, but out here in Hollywood this year, as opposed to previously, there was noticeably fewer scare actors inside the houses. Now maybe I just hit all the houses at the wrong time, and they're doing the shift change and the things were vacant. But there were I remember in the old days there were a lot more scare actors in the houses, and that's kind of when I look at the Yeti one. This is kind of like more the way I remember them being from the previous time. There was a decent number of Yetis popping out at you.
Oh yeah.
I like that. And I like that one. And a lot of the Hollywood houses, that wasn't the case. There's a lot of quote dead space without much going on, which is another. I think more so in Hollywood, they make too much use of the thing I call the draperies. They have the cloth hanging down in the doorways, and you got to push it aside to go through. I call that the draperies. But they had a lot of that in Hollywood. I was sitting there constantly pushing the damn things out of the way. I was getting kind of sick of it. And the other thing I didn't like, at least in Hollywood, is that there's too many times where you go through the first set of draperies and you're in this tiny little room, and you have to usually make a turn to the left or right, and you go through another set of draperies, and nothing happens in there. And there's it's dimly lit. I guess maybe it's just this. Oh, you're in the dark and it's scary, and that doesn't do anything with it. There's just too much of that in Hollywood. So that was kind of a pet peeve of mine. It's just too much of pushing the draperies out of the way, and too many these little vestibule rooms in between the main scare rooms that don't do anything. Now, I understand. I totally get that they're trying to hide the scare that's coming up from you. That's the purpose. They have it down. They don't want you to see, and they make you go around corners. Oh, great. I understand that. Totally understand that. They're just kind of doing this too much. Just put one corner. I have to. Just put one corner so I can't look around. And we don't have to do the draperies every time. Yeah,
I did notice that, but I like the way they used them in that monstrous house in Hollywood with all the
Oh
hanging
yeah.
intestines and the pigs. I think that's a really good touch. If you're gonna do it, make it thematic.
Okay.
So
Okay. I guess. Yeah. I'm kind of on the opposite because I've seen that done a lot. I was just kind of ready to move on to something else. But yeah, yeah, you're right. They're using that. That's kind of different. But
Uh,
let's see other ones. Do you want to talk more about? Anybody have thoughts about Yeti there before we go on?
you're definitely right about the Yeti house. That they definitely did have a lot more of those. The sets were pretty cool, and of course they had to have a set with the outhouses. Of course. I kind of like expected someone to say, "Ew, Yeti shit" or something like that.
Gotta
but
have the
the
bathroom humor.
but the other thing too that I was really kind of hoping to see is that I wanted to see one chewing on a pair of Mickey Mouse ears.
yeah,
I
that would
wanted
be
to
nice.
see that so bad. That's just a little, yeah, a little nudge there to uh, Expedition Everest, or maybe just like see one where like in disco lights. I so badly wanted to see that, but I knew it wasn't gonna happen. But it would have been hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been good if they had. They should have had a Yeti that was just a figure, a mannequin with and put the disco light on it. It doesn't move.
I would have loved to have seen that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Raul, did you get a kick out of that house?
I haven't been able to do that house
You didn't do it?
because when I was with you, we didn't go through that house. 'Cause remember, we did the other houses with no express,
Well, I thought you may have
and
had a chance to go back.
Oh man.
the two other times I went back, um, was with my dad and then a group of people I know, and then both times we didn't get to do the Jetty house, especially with my dad. My dad and he is definitely a trooper, and we also had issues with one of the AAP passes for him, but that's a different story. But anyways, we did Blood Moon, we did a few other ones, but we did not get a chance to do Yeti or I believe Exorcist. Yeah, we didn't do Exorcist,
Mhm.
but I'm hoping to get Yeti, but we'll see. Right now, I've seen a couple of videos here and there, but
Yeah.
Uh,
So the only, I'll just add one more thing about Yeti. I don't know if it's true, but one of the videos I watched, the person making the video said they were using scents, and when you originally go in the queue, so it smelled like you're in a forest
Yep.
to kind of set the mood. Is that true?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
A
So
lot
cool.
of scent
Good. I'll give
play
him,
in houses.
yeah, yeah. I'll give him an extra point for that because I kind of like when they do that at the right kind of intervals. I think that's a good thing to do to set a forest smell to start this off. I thought that was good.
yeah, I mean they got rid of it in ET, but up bumps.
Yeah.
There's a weird smell by ET now that I just don't like. I don't know what's going on with that building, but it's definitely the true horror experience. Is going back from the other two houses in the warehouse. Like ET, what are you doing? Do you have to be cleaned
Yeah.
out? I don't know what's going on.
why do you hate ET? Where did ET
I don't
hurt you?
hate ET. I'm just pointing out something that just bothers me when I go by it.
Tear it down or refurbish it, one or the other.
Over Spielberg's dead body.
Well, he ain't getting any younger.
All right, so brief thoughts on Yeti over here. I think the house overall, it was pretty long for an original house. I like the way it uses its sets. It had a lot of blind spots. It scared me a lot, but I had a lot of fun going through it. Just you're not expecting human actors to come out, but when they do and how they interact with Yeti, it's downright hilarious, and it's just a great fun house that I love going through. I want to go through it again already. It's just a house that it pleasantly surprises me each time I go through it. And yeah, but it's a very strong house in my opinion.
One house I want to know your thoughts on, Kurt, at least as far as the original IP goes, is Blood Moon.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, I like that one. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to start with?
Yeah, okay. Well, for me, I'm a very big fan of Resident Evil 4.
Heck yeah!
They just released the remake of it not too long ago, and this feels exactly like the game. a cult that's in the middle of nowhere in such rustic houses, and just like it felt like I so badly wanted to see the character Leon Kennedy jump out with a gun, but I knew that wasn't gonna happen. But my God, I loved that house. That house was creepy. It was scary. Cults are so freaky. Like
Yeah,
awesome.
I like that one.
Mm.
Yeah, it was it does what I like in a house. It established an environment. I think more so than most of the other ones. It really it felt kind of all unified. I'm not sure how to put it, but it felt like everything kind of fit and belonged. It's created this whole world that you kind of in this environment, for the duration of the house. I just like the way it was set up. It just felt, it's the type of experience that I like. And again, like you said, there's a creepy cult thing going on here, and there's sacrifices and demonic stuff, and who knows what else is going on. And it's just kind of fun, and because you don't really know what's going to happen because it's kind of an original thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like that. I like that one a lot. And that one, from what I could tell from the video of it, it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Daniel, you're a big video game fan as well, so I know you were feeling the RE4 vibes.
Absolutely, and I really do hope that they kind of double dip their toes into Resident Evil again. Since I know HHN does probably don't they do like an announcement like the conclusion of the season of like one of the houses for next year. So I think that's what they did for Chucky, if I'm not mistaken, or at least soon after that. But beyond that, yeah, I think the house definitely very scary. Some very very good hiding spots I didn't know people could utilize going through some of the rooms. So yeah, even a little bit repetitive. I think they were very effective. And I think my favorite room in that whole house is definitely the whole chapel scene, just going through that aisle and just not knowing who's gonna turn around and pop at you.
Right.
It's
Right, and it's a dark kind of theme. I don't mean light for start, but I mean like thematically, it's kind of like it just hits you as evil as soon as you start to walk in, and it kind of maintains that. It's not like some of these lighthearted ones, which are fine in their own right, but this is kind of the thing where it's kind of okay. This is just going to be evil, right? There's nothing funny going on here. This is just evil, and I like that.
Yeah,
that whole environment thing was just worked for me.
the other thing too was seeing the leader on the second floor, kind of going down, pointing at his cult members and to you.
Yeah.
Because again, like from the top, you never see it coming, and they're out of your reach. There's nothing you can do. If someone like pops out of the corner, yeah, you can run away, but when they're up that high, you're so screwed. At least on the ground, you have a fighting chance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What about you? What about you, Raul? What did you think of that one?
Repeat the name.
Blood Moon.
Oh, 10 out of 10. Love it. That is.
Yo, there we go.
I think this house is going to rank pretty high.
For me, that house is equivalent, at least for this year, to Dead Man Pier from last year. It is beautiful. Sets were immaculate. Just everything about that house was very well done. And it reminded me of Dead Man Pier because specifically when you're entering the town square, it feels like you're going around the town in like a circle in a way. And I just kind of love that detail, and all the actors perform well. Like, I really hope that this house ends up winning as far as the best house of the year, but we'll see.
We will see, at least between us when we get to it.
I will say one of the deaths that happened during that house I thought was pretty gruesome and rarely seen is the body that was burned. Because now granted, I never stepped into a burn unit before, but you look at it and go, that is not right. That is just, oh God. Because like you see, like if someone were to get like, like their arm sliced off or their legs, like, okay, like it's gruesome, but it's a patch up job. And you can even get a prosthetic. But when you see a burning body, it's like, no, you just walk away. So I definitely love that house. Kurt, what were some of the others that impressed you?
You talking about Orlando?
Either or.
Yeah, well, I certainly Dr. Oddfellows was kind of fun. It didn't strike me as a terribly scary house, but again, it has that quirkiness to it that I kind of like. You
Mhm.
know, it's got the scares and these oddities, I guess, for lack of a better word, that you get to see throughout. You didn't really know what was going to come next, and so I didn't find it as the scariest house or by any means, but I thought it's just really intriguing.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, quirky is definitely the right word for it because
Yeah,
it's basically like a wicked circus, where
yeah.
they did have some. There was one interesting animatronic they had in there, some kind of a lion,
Oh
or
yeah,
at least
yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
so I
then
think it was I think it was a puppet. I don't think it was an animatronic.
well, right after
It was a
that,
puppet.
there was that woman with the buffalo head that comes out.
Well, I think I missed that. But okay.
Mhm.
There's the
Yeah.
headless scare that comes out too, where it kind of
Mhm.
fools you.
I I enjoy the house, especially here's a few Easter eggs for the HHN lore. When you first enter the house, to your right, there's a neon light that shows up, and it's Jack the Clown's face.
Mhm.
And then when you go further into the house, you see Jack the Clown's original outfit. And then the silhouette that you see of Oddfellow putting someone in the box, he's killing Jack at that moment and putting him in the box. Because this is telling the story of Oddfellow. This is also the origins of Jack the Clown.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
okay, long story short, for Jack the Clown, that how it relates to Oddfellow. Jack the Clown, Oddfellow were part of the circus,
Mhm.
and Oddfellow was trying to get souls. Jack was killing too many people, getting the attention of the authorities, which Oddfellow did not want because he was trying to collect souls. So he had to dispatch Jack, and then in that moment, Jack claws him in the face. That's why after that house, or at the end of the house, and then afterwards, when you see him in the rest of the areas from Shipyard 32 and BAM 69, and then the very front of the park, you have claw mark because Jack scratched him there, causing Jack to get some of his powers from the Celestials and the Zodiacs. That's how Jack is immortal and has all the powers that he does, because after scratching Oddfellow's blood, he got that. And the house is supposed to be an origin story, not origin story per se, but it's telling the story of Oddfellow. Because the way, if you go through the scare zones, technically it starts the Dark Zodiac,
Yep.
Jungle, his house, Chipyard, and then BAM 69. And then technically the very end, or technically beginning of the park, which is Dr. Oddfellow's area where he talks to guests, is where he kind of is currently.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Uh, uh, I was trying to Kurt, I was looking at the Hollywood videos, and is there some sort of a house or a scare zone back there when you take the haunted tram tour?
Oh yeah, the Terror Tram.
The
Yeah.
terror tram. Yeah.
Yeah, so you watched the videos of it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, cool. So you know what's going on. Basically, I don't know this for a fact, but my opinion as to why they do this in Hollywood is that they don't really have room in the park for scare zones like Orlando does. 'Cause
Mhm.
the walkways are narrow, and they just don't have any place to set them up. So inside the park itself, there's only have like two short little scare zones. And
Mhm.
so my opinion is that the way they thought we'll get around this, we can take you by tram to another part of the back lot where we have room to actually do a long scare zone.
Hmm.
And it's a really long one. You know, it takes minutes. It takes like 10 minutes to walk through the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's why they do it. And it's a nice diversion, you know, from the rest of the park. The only thing is, like a regular scare zone, you can kind of meander around and go back and forth on your own, and they won't let you do that. It's like
Hmm.
you got to keep moving, you know, in the direction to the exit because they want to pull people through because the trams keep coming in. Yeah, you know, every
Well,
couple of minutes another tram load of people are in, so they want to push you through and get you back, and you got to board another tram to get back into the park. So they want you to if you want to pause and take a picture, they won't do anything. But the attendants won't let you go backwards and go back and see something again. So you can linger a little bit if you want to watch something a little bit, and they'll let you do that. But eventually they'll start saying, "Let's please move along, everyone. We got to move along. More people coming," kind of thing. But anyway, I think it's enjoyable. You know, it's the kind of thing. You know, they can do it in Hollywood because they know the weather is going to hold. They know it's not going to rain, so you can be outdoors. You can have this long segment of stuff all outdoors, and you know you're not going to get caught in a thunderstorm. Thank
mhm.
God. You know, because there's nowhere to there's nowhere to take shelter
Yeah,
on this
that would
whole
suck
thing.
being out there.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's why they can get away doing it, and they have the space in the back lot. I think somebody in the park finally realized, oh, we got a lot of acreage back there. We can do this. Yeah, and it's kind of nice. This year is the first time I've seen it go through the set from the Tom Cruise movie War of the Worlds. That's the first time we've done that I know of. And they also brought us past the Psycho House, and Norman is there.
Yeah,
And
very
you
cool.
can get you get if you want to linger there, you can stand in another line, and you can take your picture with Norman behind you.
Yeah, because when I saw the plane, I'm like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's a long walk. I mean, this is definitely not for somebody who doesn't want to walk.
I'll do it. I mean, because I'm looking at again the plane, the Bates Motel, and was there like some other like regular motel there? Because
No,
I know there was.
it's a
Oh,
base motel.
oh, okay, it's all part of it. Okay,
Yeah.
And I'm like, this looks so cool. It's honestly a big reason why I might see if I can try to go to Hollywood next year.
Yeah.
Same. I'm actually want to save up money so I can get an RIP tour because I feel
Yeah.
like that's gonna be the only way to be able to experience the event from every video or article I read about experiencing the event. And even some of my friends, some of them are tour guides, and they went to Universal Hollywood on a tour, and they said that was the only way they were able to do all the houses.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I didn't. I don't think you have to do that. Just don't go on a peak night. I mean, I went on a Wednesday. I just had an express pass. I had no trouble getting. In fact, I did a number of the houses twice.
Very
Oh,
good.
nice.
Yeah, and I saw the Waterworld show twice as well, or actually the Purge, I guess you call
I
Uh,
still would want to do it.
it. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a long night. You got to keep moving.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna linger and get meals if you want to do that. But anyway, so just wrapping up Terror Tram. I thought it was a good way to deal with it, considering to get with the space. The only thing is the theme this year was the reverse bug exterminators.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The bugs are exterminating the humans, which is a fun idea, but it wasn't really scary or anything. I'd rather have something more, traditional horror. It was it was more comical than scary.
Yeah, it felt very
kind of thing.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess maybe the last little piece, I guess, was a reference to Nope, which I have not seen. They have that little fictional amusement park where apparently there's aliens and stuff. I didn't really quite get what was going on, but you could tell the actors that were portraying these aliens or something, and there's obviously weird alien shit going on.
Yeah.
that was kind of it was amusing. It was an amusing environment. I guess I probably would have gotten more out of it if I knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fine movie. I recommend watch it. I think it's worth a watch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nice. I just wish it was the bug stuff just didn't scare me. Is all. It's just kind of more comical than anything else.
I mean, especially I'll never understand why our friend Brawny is so afraid of spiders. Like, dude, step on them. I don't get it. It's like, well, they're creepy, they're crawly. Like, and how big are you?
Yeah.
It's that simple. But anyway, what were some of the other houses that impressed you here in Orlando?
I think we've talked about everything, right? In Orlando, right? Darkest Steel. We haven't talked about Darkest Steel.
Yeah, I knew we forgot one.
Yeah. That's one left. We got one more left to talk about in Hollywood. I guess that one was okay. It didn't really do a lot for me. From what I could tell from the videos I watched, it didn't really seem. It didn't quite check the boxes for me. It didn't really seem to establish a really cool environment. It didn't really seem terribly scary. It didn't try to get in on the campy factor like Holidays in Hell. So that wasn't there. It's like none of those things were there, and it's like, yeah, okay, I guess. It kind of left me kind of kind of thing.
It's one of the shorter houses too.
How do the rest of you feel?
Daniel, go ahead. What were you saying?
I honestly think that house is going to be severely underrated. I think I like houses that tell a story, and from start to finish, I think it was very, very solid. And some of the scares were pretty effective. Like when you're in that crypt room, and you don't know where it's going to come from, and you have like this creepy skull out of the corner. Like you're expecting demons, but then you have like other things coming creep you out, especially when you're in that narrow bayou and you get that earthy smell in there. It's very unsettling. It's just the little details I think elevate that house to something that's pretty respectable for an original house. So I will definitely be one of the few people, I think at least, that'll defend that house compared to others I've seen at night.
Mm.
Now I'm familiar with the story because being a musician, the idea is someone sells his soul for fame or musical fame, and of course, to the devil accepts, but at some point he's got to give the devil something back in return. In which case, it's his soul. And when he tries to get out of it by playing, this what we'll call a shred off. But in this version of the story, the devil wins. So it was definitely a good twist on the story. I also liked how the actor they got to play the guitar at the very beginning actually knew how to play.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually looking at the finger placement and him plucking the strings. Like, okay, this guy can actually play. Very nice touch. Was it memorable to an extent? I'm not going to say it was the best original house, but again, I'm a bit biased because I am a music guy. So, but what say you, Raul?
I really thoroughly enjoyed that house. Like honestly,
There we go.
like a lot of people I've talked to, they said that it's really scary, which I agree. Although some people were saying that it was as scary as Hill House when it was here in 21, which I don't know if I agree because Hill House was creepy as a motherfucker. And
Now
and
you
that's
got me
coming
wanting to look it up.
from me who's been because like oh my god, the house was so good. But anyways, it's still scary. And I agree. Like you, as far I don't know the story that well, so I don't know the versions of where the devil loses the deal and stuff. But I just like the aesthetic and the environment. It might not be my top favorite, or maybe it is. I would have to like think about it, but it definitely would be maybe my top five, maybe four. I don't know. I have to think about it. Like I said, it was still a really great house.
Yeah. So the last one that for us to talk about, at least for out in Hollywood, is how do you pronounce this? Monstruds, the monsters of Latin America.
Los
Yeah,
monstruos.
yes, monstruos.
Monstros. Spanish.
Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Okay, I thought that was a D there. Uh,
Nope.
But yeah, obviously, being in Florida and California, we're obviously pretty close to Latin America, so it was actually really cool seeing a lot of these monsters within that culture. Because I know we had the Chupacabra house here not too long ago, but again, just seeing it go on, and the bit at the very end with there was a grave digger at the very end, correct?
Yes.
No, at
Yep.
the beginning before you enter the house as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I definitely like that. Very nice touch. And again, the facade looked fantastic. And I do like the idea of them, bringing in other cultures here to scare because the American well is only so deep. So bringing in what other cultures have created that can scare people, it's great. I love seeing it.
There,
Bring it on.
they should
Go
definitely
ahead.
do either in Hollywood or even Orlando a Japanese or Asian
Oh,
folklore.
please.
There's a lot
Let's
of
go.
creepy ones.
Let's
Bring
bring
it
that. Let's bring
on.
the East over here. They got
I mean,
some.
come on, like America is the great melting pot. Bring it on. Come on, we want to see this stuff. But you guys are of Latin descent. What did you guys think?
Oh, I loved it. Like it was beautiful seeing some of these monsters, even myself that I haven't heard of or have heard. Because years ago there was La Llorona house back. I want to say back in 2013, 12, 14 in Orlando, and the fact that we have a house based on this folklore, and there's even I don't even think they or correctly, they tipped the like they tip their pinkies. And there's so many other folklores, even like, and for example, there's like I said, the chupacabra. They did a kukui house in Universal Hollywood. I know, because they were promoting it with narration by Danny Trejo.
Oh, that is
Um,
cool.
there was there's also in Puerto Rico. There's a lore about a hairy hand that floats that chases you, and there's other like legends in Puerto
Nice.
Rico. So again, there's so many potential other folklores. that you can go with in Latin America. But like you said, there's also folklore in Europe. Of course, the major folklore over in Europe is Dracula, because in Transylvania stuff. But there has to be more over there. And then of
Hmm.
course you got maybe I know technically Russia is part of Asia in the sense if you're looking at continents, but folklore is maybe in Russia. And like I said, Asia, you got different ones in Asia. Hell, even Australia may have some folklore that we don't know
Hmm. What say
Yeah.
you,
So
Daniel?
I think the house easily, if I were to go through it, it might have been my favorite. I mean, I mean, obviously, bias has from the
of.
Hispanic lens, but um, overall, like I just like the monster variety in that house. The costumes were on point. Like just having
The animatronic.
that animatronic just chewing at the entrails and stuff was really, really, really cool. And just
Hmm.
having the stinger at the end about the little death being your guide. Now he's like, here's your grave at the very end. It's like that's really neat.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That was I think the one of the things I like the best because he's out front
mhm,
digging a grave, and there's recorded dialogue that he mimes to is this,
mhm.
this is a grave, perhaps it's yours, and then
And
you see him again at the
it's
end,
your grave.
and it is your grave, and it says "tu" on it,
You.
Spanish for you. It's
Hmm.
you. It says, "Aha! It is your grave." I like that because you had that beginning and you had that end, that little end cap on there.
Hmm.
Yeah, plus great rooms, great scares everywhere. Just I would have been pretty cautious going through that house, and I'm just glad Universal continues to impress even from other cultures. So, yeah, whenever you do something new like this, easily my number one from Hollywood from what I've seen over there.
Yeah. So I will say though, I think other than the maze, I think the house itself was weak. Actually, I kind of hate to say that. It had a couple animatronics, and it didn't really do much for me going through it. It didn't
Mhm.
really work as for me at least. It wasn't really that scary, and I think the crowds were kind of reflecting that as well, because this house had the shortest wait time the entire night.
Man,
In
really
fact,
Ooh.
yeah, in fact, it
disappointing.
was believe it or not, it was frequently at 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Yeah, I did it. I did it 3 times because there was no line.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, so
I,
it I know it seemed. I think it's one of those things. It seems like a nice idea, but it's not resonating with people,
Mm.
unfortunately.
fair enough,
I
but
think
Because
it
they're
just doesn't
haters.
quite. I think they chose too many different monsters to kind of jam together. I don't know. It didn't really seem cohesive to me.
it was definitely chaotic. But it was like the good
Yeah,
chaotic that get you scared. But
yeah, but
just my opinion.
I guess yeah, I was a little down on it because it's things I've seen before. You get a lot of there's one of the I don't know which monster it was, but one of them there's like butchering scenes where they're butchering animals. There's entrails around and stuff, and I've seen all that. I've
Mm.
seen the butchering thing done so many times in haunted houses. Okay, yeah, I've kind of been there, done that. It's
Mm.
kind of my reaction to that. But
Sure.
yeah, it was hard. Other than the gravekeeper, which I really liked, or the gravedigger, that it was hard for me to get into that one.
Fair enough.
Oh, all right. So, Kurt, what would you actually think of some of the scare zones we had here?
Let's see. Oh, I gotta go look at the list here.
We have
The
Doc.
the, the vamp 69 seemed corny. Was that as corny as it looked?
It was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, even the video that I took, if you listen, you'll hear me say, "I always knew hippies were evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never trust a hippie." Uh, so,
It was pretty. It wasn't remarkable, and like even the stage
No.
stuff wasn't.
Yeah.
I
It
was
didn't look
hoping
I
to
very
see.
will
good.
defend that scare zone, haters.
I didn't see enough. Like I stood there for a while hoping to see things something, but I've sit 30 minutes at a time just waiting, chilling, and looking around and nothing. It's like I don't know if I was just
It's
unlucky, but
Yeah.
it was just a lot of fog
It
effects and
didn't do much.
plus
but
they're all dressed as people, so it's kind of hard to tell sometimes like who's a character and who's
Exactly.
not.
It
I
makes
don't
it
like
better.
that though.
Raul does have a point. I will give him that. The one thing I wish they did was actually because they obviously have vehicles parked along the road. I would have liked to have seen people just jump out, not necessarily jump out of the window, just go. Yeah.
I was hoping to do some scares from the bus.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, it's the bus. You have like a one silhouette, but you don't have like actors in there reaching or pulling on the window and scaring you. I don't know.
and Raul, perhaps you would know this, but I recently found out.
What is that?
Let's go.
Beautiful, bravo. But once since I heard that that Vamp one was actually part of a trilogy. Do
Vamp
you know anything about that?
55, Vamp 85, Vamp 69.
Oh.
Oh, I'll be damned.
There's been two other Vamp scare zones. Vamp 85, of course, 80s theme. You had a guy dressed like Prince. You had like Michael Jackson. People with a frizzy, woman hair. They even had like and it was set in New Year's Eve, so every certain point they would get on stage, do a dance performance to celebrate the New Year's, and then kill victims. Bam 55 was greasers, the grease type hair back and all that fun jazz from the 50s. So Vamp 55 was first, Vamp 85, and then we're now Vamp 69.
So what do you think they're going to do for Vamp 95?
Oh, that's gonna be next year. I bet you money. If not next year, then the next year after that.
I kind of hope not, but whatever. I mean, maybe I just got
no. They're gonna do it. They're going to do it.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will at least hit us, or at least Daniel and I a little bit more, if it was from an era that we grew up in. So if it's like 95, when we grew up, it actually might we might get a bit more enjoyment out of it. I won't say horror, but it was corny.
It's horror because it's existential crisis.
It was corny, but I can't say it was bad because I was laughing. I was entertained.
It's a good vibe. It's just for a scare zone, didn't really live up to its name, but yeah, it's just fun to walk through. That's it. It's fun to walk through.
Rolling on the window.
Raul, what is it about this scare zone that you really like?
The music, the vibes from the vampires. Still see people get scared, and then just it's a chill overall. I know the team over there, and they're very chill people, very cool, and they would just have fun. Especially this one vampire. I don't know if some of you have seen videos or seen her. She's carrying her head, and she's like,
"Yeah, I saw her."
She's honestly one of my favorites.
Kurt, what'd you think of the shipyard?
It looked nice. Like to see it was hard to tell from the video, but I like it bigger. I mean, obviously it looked to be more fun if there was more to it. It seemed kind of short, at least in the video.
There's some hidden gems in there, like towards the front of the exit of Supercharge. There's like a crate that like bursts open. There's like an arm that comes out of the monster trying to escape. So you have to like wait and see. But they're there, little tidbits.
I mean, the one thing I would like to see, but I know it's not going to happen, a variety of reasons, safety being a big one, is having someone just crawl out of the water. But safety, I know, is going to be a big concern. So I know the other thing too is that you probably won't be able to get the timing down because that dock is still a ways up from the water.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit difficult to pull off. So would like to see it, but I get it. But what do you think of the jungle one, Kurt?
I don't remember that one in detail. Why don't you somebody else talk about that one? Let me.
That's
my memory.
That's my favorite zone. But go ahead.
Yeah, mine too. So Daniel, no, you go ahead and lead us here since it was yours favorite as well.
It's my favorite because there's like a little mini show that happened often enough where you see Dr. Oddfellow get the source of his power, and great music, great dialogue, good acting, and even the guy posing to take pictures afterwards. I mean, that's what I think Scare Zone should be like more about. If you're trying to get to know the characters and also get spooked with all the fog and all the people hiding behind like crates and tents. I think it was really well done. So small zone, but with what they did and the theming, I think they nailed it. Like it hit the vibe. What I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean it's the Central Park set, and so obviously you want a foresty themed Scare Zone would work best. And having and if you look closely off to the side, you'll actually notice the tail end of a plane crash. I mean, obviously it's not a commercial plane; it's a like a little small private one you would see. I thought that was a great touch. Seeing eyes up in the tree, which they tend to do, I always love that. The fog effects were great in that area. So yeah, that one, and like you said, their little show that they did at the very beginning. So yeah, that's definitely a favorite of mine. But what other one stuck out to you, Kurt?
Well, they had a scare zone in Hollywood. It was based off the monsters of Latin America. That was actually right next to the house, and that worked pretty well. I kind of like that one. It was short. Again, they don't have space to do much, but it was lit up very nicely. The scare actors in the zone were doing their job. I like that one.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think of Dark Zodiac?
From the video, I liked it. I mean, that's kind of the spooky kind of stuff I kind of like in a scare zone. So that worked for me.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of it, and seeing the costumes and the set pieces they were on were great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's definitely a close second for me when it comes to scare zones. But now that we've gotten through those, let's actually talk about some of the shows here.
Yeah.
Kurt, what shows do they have over there in Hollywood?
I guess we had one main show and maybe one smaller show. So the main show was the Purge, something or other. I forget exactly what the full name was, but it was a Purge theme show that took place in the Waterworld arena, which was new. I don't know ever, but this is the first time I've ever seen a show they actually used that arena during Halloween Horror Nights. So that was kind of different, and you can pack a lot of people into that arena. So that was kind of it was a way to take capacity out of the houses for a little while when the shows are. And they ran the show a lot.
Was it on the water?
The show? Yeah,
Yeah.
they used some of the characters are in jet skis and boats. Yeah.
Because as far as I know, the Purge series, they never took anything to the water. So
no, so just really briefly, what the general idea was, I guess the senator, is kind of going to his place to hide out from the Purge so nobody can kill him. So it's one of these high government officials who's kind of responsible for creating the Purge, and he's evading the Purge so he doesn't want to get killed. So his crew sets up this remote kind of island, this remote offshore platform thing for him to hide in, so nobody can find him. It's based. So that's the premise for why we're out there. We're supposed to be out in the ocean, miles and miles from shore, hiding out from the Purge. But of course, the plan didn't work out, and the people find him and purge him.
pretty cool deaths, like good fire effects in there.
Yeah, they did that. It's kind of like the Waterworld stunt show, but they're not afraid to show blood this time. Because the Waterworld,
that was cool.
The Waterworld stunt show is bloodless because it's got to be family friendly, and they use a pretty good amount of blood, enough that because you're sitting in the arena pretty far away from the actors, and they use enough blood that you could see it still.
Really?
Pretty far away. Yeah. I don't know how much. When the guy gets punched in the face, he's obviously got a blood pack in his mouth, and there's a lot of blood comes out.
Okay, I didn't see that in the video. I have to look this up.
Yeah, and they had another good effect where somebody has quote unquote their hand like on top of a crate, and then the other character hits it with like a hammer or a mallet or something, and there's a huge amount of blood sprays out all over the place.
Anime loves blood. It's funny.
Yeah,
but
it was kind of silly. Yeah, and they had the fire effects too. It was about the right length. It was about as long as it needed to be and no longer. And they had a brief there's a little laser light show kind of thing, kind of on the end of it with the music and stuff. But that didn't go on very long. It was entertaining. It was kind of predictable in some ways. Unfortunately, the one downside, they went with the woke storyline, and that the female characters kill all the evil men characters. It was predictable. As soon as it started out,
I got no problem with that, but okay.
Yeah, I spotted right away what was going to happen. That the senator's aide is a woman, and she was going to be the turncoat and turn on him. Okay, it was just so obvious the way they were setting it up. But anyway, it was kind of fun. I was wondering if they were going to use the plane from the Waterworld show that
I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, they don't.
Man.
I think it takes too long to reset that. I think because they run this Purge show a lot during the night. I think it takes time to reset that plane. It would have been cool to see it at night. They did do quite a bit of. They did add a little bit of pyro, a little more pyro than you see during the Waterworld show. They had some extra little flare things
Mhm.
that went off. They're doing in some of the fight sequences. So it was nothing, it was nothing fantastic, but it was entertaining for what it was.
Mhm.
And
Uh,
I guess do you anything else we want to say anything about before we go on?
uh, well, I, I, I just had it. Well, yeah, what was the small show
The small show was the Blumhouse. I think they call it Blumhouse behind the scenes.
behind the
Uh,
screens?
yeah, yeah, one or the other. That was kind of it's basically an advertisement, for
Mhm.
Blumhouse movies. But they did in the pre-show area. They used the Kung Fu Panda Theater for it. In the pre-show area, they had the actual movie props from a variety of the movies.
Oh,
So
nice.
they actually had one of the full-size Megan dolls that was actually
Mhm.
used on camera in the case, and they had the actual animatronic figures from the Five Nights at Freddy movie coming up.
Mhm.
Those are the
Okay.
real ones that were actually used in the movie.
Oh, wow.
That you see that, yeah, and they had other props and stuff. They also had an actor. So what's the name of the bad guy from Black Phone? What's that character called? Grabber.
Oh, yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, yeah. So they actually had an actor portray him, and he was in the pre-show area, and you could take your photo with him while you're waiting around for this to begin. And he was
Yeah.
also he was also out front with the black balloons, beckoning you to come into the show from the walkway. That was kind of fun. And then
Mhm.
when you get into the theater, you basically see a montage of trailer footage from their movies, and then things go wrong as they usually do in these kinds of things. And then there's like you get Megan kind of shows up and kind of causes mayhem.
Yeah, speaking of Megan, I wish I saw the flash mob myself, but I only
So
saw.
do I. Yeah, because turns out there was a Megan flash mob, the
Yeah,
Orlando show.
yeah, I've
But-
seen the videos of that. Yeah, it's somewhat similar. They do the Hollywood one. They do a dance. Obviously, you got to do the Megan dance. I think in Orlando they had 8 Megans, and here we only had 6. But it was good. They actually in the Hollywood version, Megan's got weapons though.
Nice.
She's right, and like she's right in the front of the theater, in front of the audience. If you're sitting in the front row, I mean, she's just a few feet away from you with a serious weapon, with blood on it already.
uh,
It was good. It was well done. It's a very short experience. I think you're only in the theater for like I think 5 minutes. It's a pretty brief kind of thing. As I said, it's basically an advertisement, for Blumhouse plus a few other things.
and I think there was also some sort of street show with some of the Death Eaters that we had. Well,
I missed
uh,
that. I tried to find showtimes for it, and I never got to see it live. Plus,
I
everyone's
didn't
like,
either.
"Let's do another house." I'm like, "Fine."
Hopefully, I can catch it when I go up this weekend. I don't know if I'll be doing horror nights yet, but if there's a way if I can do it, I do want to see if I can try to catch the flash mobs and the street shows, because that is still part of the horror nights experience. But
Yep.
speaking of shows, we of course had Halloween Nightmare Fuel, the one show Kurt hates.
It's not that's not my favorite. We'll go ahead. We'll get into why.
Okay, they did actually change up the story a little bit, and there was
Mhm.
indeed a gender swap. However, there were villain females as well, so it wasn't like they were trying to be part of the agenda.
We know.
It,
Yeah.
it really seemed like they were trying to be fair about it. So I'll get the impression it was like what you experienced, Kurt, up in Hollywood. But they also had some new tricks this time, which was good because last year there wasn't really much of a difference. Like some new songs and new dances, that was it. But we had an add-on to the story. We had new tricks, a new heron, or however you pronounce that.
Heroin, but yeah.
Heroin.
Heroin.
Yeah, there we
Heroin,
go.
yes.
Yes, like a drug. But they were good additions, and plus, again, being the music guy, I absolutely love that they started the song with a remix of "The Black Parade" by My Chemical Romance. Because honestly, if you really listen to that song, it feels like a Queen song. So I will. The music geek in me was kind of nerding out a little bit. Daniel, what do you think of the show?
Yeah, I think it's the best iteration yet. I had a lot of fun watching it. I've only seen it once, but I mean that was definitely enough. Like the trick where, she's going up in that ball they did tape up and disappearing. I think that was really well done. And just the ending number, just a lot of fun pyro effects going everywhere. The dancers, the costumes, just good pacing. And yeah, like overall, I just feel like they learned from previous criticisms, and I think they delivered the best iteration yet. Now, granted, I would love to see something new next year. We'll see if that happens, but yeah, like it's a show that the actors should definitely be proud of, because you can tell they put a lot of hard work in there. And also good to see a good variation of background dancers, like some men, some female, they're all kicking ass out there. So I know it's hard to choreograph stuff like that. So I will give them their due. Like they did a really good job. I was entertained the whole way through. And yeah, worth the watch.
So what do you think of the show, Raul? Raul?
Is he online?
Uh,
I really love that show. I've seen it multiple times, and then 3 years that it's going, I met the cast. They're all wonderful people, great people. They're, like, honestly one of the sweetest people that you can ever meet as performers. And honestly, my order of favorite show might be either first show from 2021, or tied, like this one and the first year are very close to my favorite because the first year has a Rob Zombie song, Dragula, and their first year, and then this year they also have a lot of good songs overall with the performance. So it's hard. It's honestly hard.
okay, Kurt. So tell us why you don't like this show.
Well, clearly, I'm the wrong generation for this show.
Fair point. Fair point.
I can't deny that it's popular because I watched the video and everybody's cheering on. And I saw it last year, and I saw the way the audience react. Clearly, the audience, that age group, likes it. Frankly, I think people like the show more after they've had alcohol. That's one of the things I've noticed. I've noticed about.
Oh, they're definitely drunk people.
I've been to shows in Vegas that aren't that great, but the crowd is going crazy, and I think it's because like some of the shows I've been, they serve you alcohol as part of the show. You get like two drinks free. It's included with your ticket, and nice. I think they do that. I think they do that specifically to get the crowd inebriated, so they like the show and they think it's better than it really is.
Because I don't drink. Think about Bill and Ted.
I don't drink alcohol, so I had a soda. So I didn't have any alcohol, and I watched the show. I said, well, it was an okay show, but it was nowhere near as good as the way the crowd was reacting. And that's kind of the way I look when I look at Nightmare Fuel. It's nowhere near as good as the way the crowd is reacting to it. It's just, it's not that great. Sorry. I think part of the music. The music doesn't work for me at all. I just really don't like that kind of music at all. Yeah, I know.
A little bit too wild, I guess, but that's fine.
Yeah, check me into the old folks' home. If you want, but yeah, it doesn't work. I'll take Bill and Ted's any day over that.
Oh please, you want to fly around the American TARDIS? My God.
Yeah. I like Bill and Ted. I like Bill and Ted's better. I think it was the nice compliment. It was something different. You have all this horror mazes and stuff, and now you've got a complimenting dish. You want complimenting food when you eat. The vegetables complement the steak. It's like that kind of thing, and I liked it. And I like the fact that Bill and Ted, they came up with a pretty good script. Every year was different. They came up with different ideas and things to have fun with. But yeah, Nightmare Fuel is not very high on my list. Sorry.
Well, I think the only thing that's left here is to rank our favorite houses. So, Daniel, you've actually been giving this a lot of thoughts. Let's go ahead and start with you.
All right. So I'm going to obviously go from bottom to top. So time to get the spicy takes out, but we'll see how it goes. So starting at number 10, I think it's going to be, well, I won't say unanimous, but close to the bottom, Chucky. The second time I went through, I was like, I'm not doing this house again. Like it's just not worth the wait. Number 9, Exorcist Believer. We already discussed that ad nauseum. Yeah, pretty quality scares, but as far as something memorable from that house, it just didn't really stick. I had a hard time remembering much outside the first third, just going through that set piece. It if you're going to do repeats visits of a house interior, Halloween did it better last year. This just wasn't it for me. And I felt like there could have been more variety beyond just two girls scaring you at every corner. So that's just on me. Number 8, I hate to put this here, but I think Dr. Oddfellow Twisted Origins is going here. I know it's a beloved house by many, but I think this is the house with diminishing returns. I went through it first time and I loved it. Like, I laughed at a great time, but then just kind of future visits, it just seemed kind of, I don't know, just, it didn't seem to scare me or interest me this time around. I like the scenes with Dr. Oddfellow in it. 2 cents. Oh, for Oddfellow?
No, for there was something you wanted to say about one of the other houses. I told you to save it for the.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
ranking.
Stranger Things 4 when I get to it.
Okay.
But yeah, like the theming is pretty nice. The facade's nice. It's just, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't enjoy the house as much going through it multiple times with Oddfellow. But I love the character. I hope he makes a return. I just think he deserves maybe a better executed house later on. But those are like the bottom 3 that were kind of disappointing to just check. Would probably be the only house I consider bad, but that's like the only house I would this year. 7, I know the irony, but it's Dueling Dragons right here. Dueling Dragons, I've been through it 5 times. I love the effects going on through there, but it's just the missed potential gets to me. Like, I wanted to see more about, less on the Warlocks, more on the Dragons going crazy, and a little bit longer experience, especially with the Diverging Paths, because I think that it's cool to have it, but there wasn't much in either path to really warrant that decision. So I do hope it makes a return in the future house when it comes to multiple paths, but for now, yeah, like very very fun house to walk through. But it is one time I went through, it was kind of prone to some effects not working, which kind of hampered the rankings. So that's why it's down that low. But it's still an enjoyable house. I would go in it easily. 6 will be the Darkest Steel. I think this, like I said, underrated house, great overall story, good scares in there, especially with all the demon costumes. And you just get a sense of dread just walking through. You feel bad for this man, seeing his name on the tombstone and infusing the wall at the end. I think very solid experience all the way through. 5 would be Blood Moon Dark Offering. I'm sorry. That's the house that, again, Resident Evil 4, just solid all the way through, great set pieces. But I think the next 4 houses had something more to them than the previous 6 I talked about. 4, fittingly, Stranger Things 4. I originally had this house even higher, but I've had the unfortunate experience with the casting not being as strong. Like, they were either missing, or just the timing of the scares, or the way they're acted out just kind of felt phoned in after that first time. Because I think the first time I went with you, Justin, that was the best time I went through that house. Marvelous, but it just got it was just inconsistent for me to rank it any higher. But it's hard to argue against the set pieces. They're really good. Vector was really cool to watch. I wish it was more cohesive like the Hollywood version. I think that was superior in that sense. Because if I want to see highlights of the whole season, I'd rather go with Hollywood than what we got here in 4, which is like very, very weird. Like, you have like a big upside down bit and like some lab bit, and it just didn't feel as well connected as it should have for a Stranger Things house. Number 3, this will be the Universal Monsters Unmasked house. I know, shocker, because Universal Monsters topped my list last year, but I think this year, I think the imbalance of monsters kind of brought it down, as well as I had more misfortune than the house too, where the Hunchback guy only appeared in half my run-throughs of that house. He wasn't there or jumped down, and that kind of disappointed me too, going down from that setting. But the smells, the facade when you go into that house, that was really cool going in, and I hope they continue to deliver with that property. 2, I know it's like, how's it decide? But Yeti, I think is my best original house this year. Just overall consistently great. Like, every time I go through it, everyone in my group just has a good time. They're scared, we're laughing. The costumes are great. I think the gags are great. I think it's a house that uses its blind spots and corners very effectively. And I wish I would have gone to it last night, but we just didn't have the time. But yeah, certainly easily the best of the original house. And shockingly, I never thought I would say this after the first impression, but Last of Us is my favorite house this year, and I'll tell you why. Last of Us, not only the set design, but I just think the effects of the scares and the damn costumes being as accurate with the sounds. Not only the sounds, but the actors did an amazing job emulating the animations in the game. like point to point. I went back to back and checked to confirm they did their homework, and I respect that when they bring damage detail to a house. And I wish, yeah, I wish there was more Joe and Ellie here, but from their minimal appearances, they did a good job. And I think start to finish is definitely a house that, even though it's not the scariest, I think it does enough. And I just can't discount the quality and attention to detail that it has. So shocking. I'm putting Last of Us as the best house this year. I know that's probably not going to be remotely everyone's similar opinion, but that's it for me. There's my shocking pick of the list.
All right, Raul, why don't you go next?
Okay. This is gonna be very hard for me.
It was for me too, man. You got this.
Number 10, even though I will say I love this house, I love Chucky, I love the franchise, and even Justin, I met the actor from the Chucky and the actors from Chucky show. I'm a big fan of the franchise, but I will have to put the Chucky house as last. And again, there's nothing against the Chucky house, or even the performers, or even the show or anything. It's just I definitely agree with the statement. It's a little bit weaker as far as the house is. I still have fun with it, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a little bit of the, like, not a strong house.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not fair. Maybe I could bump it up to like 9 or something, but I feel 10 is okay. Again, this is no hate. This is just my preference. Then number 9, I'm gonna put in Exorcist. Good house, still some good scares, but not my favorite. Number 8, I'm gonna put Darkest Deal. Only because, again, the list is hard.
It is.
Number 7, I'm gonna put in Oddfellows Twisted Origins. Great house still, a lot of good scares. Number 6, I'm going to put Jetty, only because since I haven't done it, but I've seen videos and it looks amazing. I feel like 6 is fair for not having done it, but just seeing videos of. And I feel like it could easily go up higher. Number 5, Monsters.
Whoa. That's lower than I thought it would be, but care to explain why?
Number 4
Okay.
would be Stranger Things. Number 3 would be
Oh, it gets hard.
I'm gonna say Dragons. Number 2, Last of Us, and number 1, Blood Moon for me.
Whoa, Blood Moon topping it.
All right.
And more Last of Us love. It's an opinion that's been growing, and I'm glad to be wrong about a house. That's why I'm so high on it right now.
But definitely the top 3 interchangeable in a way for me. And again, this is no saying against any of the houses.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's just, I guess, preference.
But I'm curious about your placement of the Universal Monsters house. Is it just it's a little low from what I was expecting, but I'm curious about that placement.
I mean, it's just like I said, it was. I mean, I'll replace Stranger Things with Monsters. Put Monsters as number 4.
Okay, that's fair. You don't have to change it. I just want to hear your reasoning for it. I'm curious.
It's just mainly of a placements. Like sometimes when I make certain lists, it's hard for me, so I just have to put it somewhere.
I get it.
Okay, Kurt, let's see you.
Yeah. So let's. I'm gonna do Hollywood. I'm gonna do Hollywood and Orlando separately, but I'm going to go really quick here. It's difficult for me to rank one after another, so I'm gonna lump some of them together just to kind of speed things along this way I see it. But if we go to, I'm gonna do Hollywood first. So I think in Hollywood, my favorite maze was Hollywood in Hell. Holidays in Hell was my favorite. Very close behind it was Evil Dead Rise, and then close behind that was Monsters Unmasked. Then the next 4, Stranger Things, Exorcist, Last of Us, and Chucky, they feel very similar to me as far as experience. I'm kind of sort of lumped them, but if I have to rank them within there, I like Stranger Things more than the others because Stranger, even though I haven't watched it much, it's got this science fiction aspect which kind of appeals to me a bit, and I kind of like the science fiction-y feeling you get when you go through the Stranger. So I'm gonna put that one higher. and I put Chucky lower, and then you can, Exorcist and Last Disc, they can battle it out. They kind of seemed about the same to me. And then last at the bottom, as you can probably imagine, is Monsters of Latin America. That one didn't really work much for me at all.
Fair enough.
Except for the Gravedigger, I liked him. So that's my feeling on Orlando. Let me quickly go through. I'm sorry, on Hollywood.
Right.
Let me quickly do Orlando here. It's going to be very similar. I think top of the list is probably going to be Blood Moon, and Yeti are kind of up there.
Yeti.
I think
Let's go.
After that too, the next tier is going to be Unmasked and Oddfellows. They're kind of seem, as far as quality. I mean, they're obviously totally different experiences, but as far as the quality of the experience I got from watching the videos, they seem they intrigued me about the same. So I'll put those kind of together. Yeah, and then you kind of get into the next group here. Let's see. It's hard to put a couple of these. I think I'll probably go with Stranger Things again for a similar reason, and then I'll probably put Last of Us and Exorcist again, kind of tied, sort of. Chucky is going to be Chucky, and not really we're sure to put Darkest Deal. There's kind of three of these that didn't fire for me, like Chucky, Dueling Dragons, and Darkest Deal.
Oh, not Dueling Dragons. Oh no.
Well, I'll put it towards the top of the three. I think maybe I'll put Dueling Dragons on top of Darkest Deal with Chucky at the bottom. I think yeah, that's kind of the way I'll do Orlando.
Solid list.
What about you, Justin?
Okay, now one thing I typically like to do is I like to put the original IP houses and the actual established IPs in two separate categories because that's just because they're really like two different vibes, especially if you indulge in pop culture. So we'll go ahead and start with. I'll pull up my list here for the original houses for that one, and I'm sorry, Raul, Dueling Dragons.
Ooh, heartbroken.
I am like, I wanted to see more dragons. That's what I wanted so bad.
I know the pain, man. It's
if
still
you're
fun
so
to walk
hard on
through.
for dragons, just go on the hub.
I'm sorry, man. I tried.
All right, this shirt's coming off. You can't have this shirt now.
Okay, next one after that, I'm going to go with Darkest Deal. Just because, while I've been through that house, I think maybe twice, there's only like maybe a few scenes that really stick out for me. And of course, again, being the music guy, you think that would be a bit higher, but no, surprisingly, no, there isn't. Okay, next, I'd have to go with Dr. Oddfellow. Again, there was some weird like centaur creature that was like half human, half like bullhead. That I'm surprised wasn't in your video, Kirk, because that thing I saw and went, "Excuse me." Okay. That, and also there was another scare that got me that I didn't see coming, where someone like cuts off this woman's head. There you go. But then suddenly the body actually comes forward and tries to grab you.
Yep.
I'm like,
that got me.
I went, okay, you got me on that one. Bravo. I got to give you that. Let's see. Next, I'd have to go with the Yetis. Like you said, Kurt, there's a lot of people in Yeti costumes, and I still wish I saw one gnawing on a piece of Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then I'd have to say Blood Moon. That was just, like I said, it feels like Resident Evil 4. And I love that game. I love Resident Evil as a franchise. And yeah, there is something creepy about cults. I mean, Kurt, I'm sure you've driven past the Church of Scientology.
I don't know. I have no idea where it is.
That we actually had one up in Buffalo that I've driven past a few times. I went, oh, they got a Buffalo chapter.
Oh dear.
Keep driving. Keep driving. Now, because Unmasked, while technically being its own original story, we are still using established Universal monsters. So I am counting that in for my established IP list. So at the bottom of that list, I have to go with Exorcist. I'm sorry. That maybe maybe I'm a little bit biased because the movie didn't turn out, but like the Exorcist has such a legacy to it, and you blew it on trying to include like every other culture, which is not necessarily bad, but like like the mother they brought back for from the original they brought back for this, she originally didn't want to do it. They offered her like a ton of money, and that was the only reason why she did it.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah,
Well,
fact
money
is
talks.
also,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
will
money.
agree that you can include the different elements of religion because, like you said, exorcism is not necessarily just specific to one religion. There's different elements of different religion. There was a way they could have done it, I feel, that would have made sense, but it felt like the best way I think this analogy can work is like you trying to make a cake and you put in too many ingredients in, and the cake just flops. And I feel
Yeah,
like that's what they were trying to do with the different religion. Again, not a bad concept, but it's like make a salt ring here and do this here. It's like
So it's
like if
not
anything,
Catholicism, like at the center of this exorcism. I'm just
yeah,
confused here.
like I think it would have been better if they focused on one singular different religion and how they would have handled an exorcist. I think that would have been better.
Hmm.
So okay, next up is, and this was at the bottom for a lot of others, Chucky. Uh, but the reason why I have that on, yeah, the second to last is because there were at least some memorable moments. Seeing, hearing Brad Dourif as Chucky is always entertaining. Plus, I do like how when you went outside, they actually decked out the area, so it just didn't feel like just a quick stroll outside. And there was an actor above you telling you, avoid Chucky, avoid Chucky. So it was at least more entertaining than The Exorcist.
Mhm.
Let's see here. For number 3, I'm gonna give it to Universal Monsters Unmasked because again, that was gruesome.
Mhm.
Uh, it's always a pleasure seeing those guys. I mean, last year we had the three-way battle, which was a lot of fun with a different ending every day. Uh, but this one, like, we actually got to see like the gore and the brutality of these monsters, which I loved seeing. And again, like they had a prop of a dead horse lying there on the floor. Like there's the wolf man, like, oh hey, you want to join me for dinner? So yeah, that's got to be number 3.
They actually
But
removed
now,
that horse when I last went through it. Maybe some people were complaining or tripping over it. I don't know, but I was sad. Yeah, but we got to see
so
it.
so now the final 2. What's it gonna be? The Last of Us or Stranger Things? Well, at number 2, I go with The Last of Us
Fair.
because while again, The Last of Us is a very great game, I loved it. It was good seeing Joel and Ellie. It felt like guiding you through the chaos. What made that number 2 was the fact of the setting. We've been in cities before, granted not in such chaos and disarray, but again, it's the city. We've seen something like that. But with Stranger Things, you're in what's called the Upside Down,
Yeah.
which, it frankly was like their version of hell. And getting a chance to actually walk through all that, and again seeing the characters on the ceiling, the character Eddie playing Metallica in there,
Mhm.
so that had a lot more going for it. So because it's and obviously going back and forth between the Upside Down and the real world, you got 2 worlds in one house. So yeah, for number 2, The Last of Us. Number 1, Stranger Things season 4. So those are our rankings. And Kurt, you said there was one more comment you wanted to make.
Yeah, just one more thing I noticed about just for give a +1 for Hollywood is that I haven't seen it before that on the wait times for the houses, and in Hollywood they had both the times for the regular line and for the express line separately on the sign.
Nice.
I've never seen that before. I really like that because I had that. I've gone to Orlando at times and I have the express pass. I get in the express pass, and the express pass is a mile long. And I wish I had known that before I walked all the way back there, because I would have gone and done something else and come back later. Yeah, and that's a kind of a pet peeve I've always had for Orlando is getting in the express line to find out I'm going to be there for 30 minutes or more, which I don't like because it's an express line. That's not express at 30 minutes or more. But
Yeah,
at least in Hollywood now they're telling you on the sign that how long each line is.
yeah,
And
Justin.
I thought that was really nice.
Kurt's a very impatient person.
Yeah,
I
Justin,
am.
but I know what he feels
I am.
because when we did Express, like The Last of Us Express was about half an hour, even though
Yeah.
when we used it, it was like 100 minutes. Like when we last went in there, it was like 100
Yeah, I
minutes or
mean,
80 minutes, so it was
uh,
less than half, but still chunky.
yeah,
for-
it was still a bit of a way to get through that line because again, it's all the way in the back, and usually they always say like they're top ranked houses for that. I mean, they put or at least the more popular known houses within the established IP because that was the same place where they had the weekend house last year.
Yeah,
So and yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. You
Yeah,
win
but
this
then
round.
I thought it was a nice touch to have the split out the wait times. I hope Orlando starts doing that.
that'd be
'Cause
nice.
I would really like to see that. I also appreciate the fact that they in Hollywood they ran the shows so many times each night. That I could see. Not only did I do all the houses, I saw both shows twice, and I did some of the houses multiple times, all in one evening. That was really nice. That I could do all that.
Mm. Oh,
Roll just
where
left.
did Raul? Okay, maybe he'll come right back on. Let me check here to make sure. Okay, but now let's go ahead and give our final thoughts here. Daniel, this was your second Halloween Horror Nights. Would you say this was better than last year?
I'd say so. I think, even though we had one less show, like I sincerely missed the Lagoon show. I think, yeah, and I know it wasn't really the best offering there, but it's still something very cool and really interesting to watch. But I think the consistency of the houses were definitely very, very nice. I think nothing really stooped to the level of the Witch's house from last year. Even though I know people do defend that house well, I think the weaker house from last year were definitely, big duds or just weird disappointing. Compared to, I think, the overall lineup this year and the highs of the highs. I think the top three houses from this year are definitely better than the top three houses from last year. Like, give me Last of Us, Yeti, and what do you put? Universal's Monsters this year, then Monsters Weekend, and I think Halloween from last year. And those were all great houses, but I want to keep coming back. I'm becoming a fan of the event, and I do hope that they continue to learn from what worked and what didn't work this time around, and give us continued great experiences. So overall, I think it's a step in the right direction. Because I know last year you mentioned it was kind of a down year for Hornets compared to what you're used to.
Mm-hmm. All right, Raul, what say you? What are your final thoughts on this year's Halloween Horror Nights?
Honestly, a great addition, especially to the lore following Horror Nights, especially adding Dr. Othello as a legitimate, icon and character to the lore. Because up to this point, or before this point, all we knew of him was he was the original ringmaster of Jack's circus, and Jack supposedly killed him, taking over the circus back in 2007. That's how he was able to bring Freddy Krueger, Jason, and Leatherface into the circus as part of his traveling act. So having Dr. Othello now in, me and a couple of friends, I keep telling them during the 35th anniversary year they should have Dr. Othello versus Jack the Clown, and then have the entire park be like a war zone, Jack's side versus Othello's side.
Oh man,
I'd love to see that.
3 years until that event, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
All
they're
right.
already planning it, I can bet you, because like we're now in year
2.
3.
All right, Kurt, what say you?
Yeah, I enjoy the event in Hollywood. I think overall the Orlando event is bigger just because they got more space, and they can deal with the crowds better. So you got the more larger, more traditional scare zones. You got 2 more houses. I think so. Overall, I think Orlando, gets the award for the best overall event. But Hollywood does what they can. The Terror Tram is kind of a fun thing. I hope they go for something more scarier. I think in the future would appeal to me more. More more jump scares and more shocking things, as opposed to the more silly, with Larry the larva and the human exterminators. It was campy, but yeah, they could do more with that. I think Hollywood does a pretty good job trying to deal with it, because like the lower lot in particular doesn't have a lot of, there's not very much walkway space down in the lower lot, and there's a lot of people down there that they have to usher around between the different houses, and the ride, the mummy ride is open too, and so those transformers, there's a lot of stuff going on in a very small space down at that lower lot, and that is there's the crowds there are a little daunting, but the park manages it fairly well, fortunately. But overall, I think I would have to give the event to Orlando.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think this was better than last year. As Daniel pointed out, last year felt a little bit too kiddish, a bit too Hobby Lobby. What I would like to see happen, and I've been vouching for this for a few years now, I doubt it's going to happen, but I still want it. I want them to work with the band Ice Nine Kills, because their whole shtick is that they make songs about horror film. And I want their new icon to be a rock star, have it played by the lead singer, and give him the tagline, "Who says rock is dead?" That's
like
what
it.
I want. That's what I want to see so bad.
I like it.
But according to the singer, though, Universal hates them. I guess because they were on the Mummy roller coaster at one point, the one here in Orlando, and it gets to the false ending. The roof goes on fire, and I guess someone from the band thought it'd be a funny idea to take a quick hit of a vape pen and then blow the smoke at the person behind them to make it seem as if it's real. Like, ugh. Like, fucking rock stars. Ugh. But
rock and roll.
But it's definitely a step up, and I will even say that the original houses definitely upped their game as well.
Oh yeah.
But part of me does want to go out and experience Hollywood, so hopefully that's something I can shoot for next year. We'll see how finances go, but all in all, yeah, definitely better than last year. And what did you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Until then, this is the Park Geeks signing off. Take care, guys.
See ya.